Okay, so today I'm going to show you how to build a Grobot version 2. Now the version 2 is just like the version 1. It does all the same things except it's smaller, lighter, better, faster. The ports are more accessible. All of that. Fewer printed parts. Now you're going to need a power supply and you're going to need a bunch of other parts, including our workhorse here, the Raspberry Pi 3. Now, the Raspberry Pi 3 is form factor equivalent to the 2, but it's got built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, which you don't really use here, but the Wi-Fi we will. So if you're going to use a 2 or whatever, you're going to need a Wi-Fi dongle. So the other parts we're going to use a Raspberry Pi camera. We're going to use the 888 from Fidgets. Now the 888 is, this is not the same one we used in the Grobot V1. We used the one with the additional USB ports. That required an additional power supply for 12 volts and a step down to the 5.3 for the Raspberry Pi. Bunch of extra parts, bunch of extra expense, and we never used the ports. So one less point of failure. We're going with this one. So, of course, in order to connect that to our Raspberry Pi, we're going to need a USB cable, standard USB to mini USB. We're going to need the software for the CyberGrow system here, the SD card. We're going to need some sensors. Here's a temperature and humidity sensor. This is a motion sensor, and this is a light sensor. And of course, we're going to need a little cruiser fit flash drive here, something approximately that big, 64, whatever. We're just using it to store archives of the video that is captured by the bot. Other than that, you're going to need one little screw eye hook here, like that. And that's pretty much everything that we're going to need to build this bot, except for, of course, the 3D printed plastic parts. So let's get started. First things first, we're going to start with our Fidgets 888, and we're going to attach that here, grab the wrong part there, to the rack that it just pops right into that. You can see there's little pegs there. Now, and we'll just pop this right on there. And you want to apply pressure evenly on all 4 pegs initially, because if it goes too far down one peg, it doesn't want to go down straight on the other pegs and blah, blah, blah. But basically, this guy's just going to snap right in there, and make sure all 4 of the pegs are nice and secure all the way down, and then you should be good to go. All right, so yeah, all these parts fit together really snug and snap together. They're designed for Replicator 5th generation by MakerBot, or Replicator 2. Either one's going to print this out fine in the standard, with the standard settings. All right, so now we're going to pop on this is actually the bottom of the device. I'm just going to pop that right onto place here. And again, you want to make sure that all of the pins go down evenly, not too much on any one pin at one time, or they won't go together, and then you can actually snap the pins off, which doesn't matter much. They don't really hold the thing in place all that much. I mean, the whole frame of the thing is holding it in place. So if you lose a pin, don't cry about it. Your bot will work just fine. All right, so there we have it. That fits in there nice and snug. That's not going anywhere, right? And make sure all of the points that snap together have snapped together to the fullest extent possible. All right, so that's the bottom layer. Now we're going to go for the pie layer of our unit. And again, this works exactly the same. It's got the little pegs on here that go through the mounting holes on the device, and you just gently and evenly push it down until all of the pins are in place. And again, you don't want to go too far down any one pin at a time, otherwise you'll get unevenness and it won't want to fit in like I'm experiencing right now. Alright, there we go. And again, it should snap all the way down to the base and be firmly and securely in place. Alright, so now there's actually nothing that holds this layer to the layer below it except the layer above it. So let's pull that together now. And this would be basically the lid of the unit. And again, it snaps into place, a number of things. And we also get the camera snaps into place on here. So we're going to need to assemble our camera. We're going to need some parts here for the camera. This is the base, this is the lid, and then we're going to need our actual camera, which is over here. Okay, so now the way this is designed, the camera just slides right into the base here. You want to slide it all the way in as far as it'll go, and it should fit nicely into the little grooves. And it should be pretty firm, but you know, if you yanked on this, it would come back out. So the cap helps to hold that in place. Now the cap just snaps on there, and again, you want to snap evenly. That's the magic secret sauce to building this whole unit, is to make sure you snap all of the parts that snap evenly and firmly and securely all the way down. So now that snaps together and that holds that nicely in place. You can take off the little plastic tab that sits on top of the camera. I like to leave it in place until I'm done. Just add a little bit of protection while I'm tossing these parts around. Okay, so again, this camera component now snaps right into the lid, and we just make sure it's firmly, securely all the way down, and it should look nice and flush. You can see, yeah, where's the camera? There it is. Okay, so all right, so let's put this. Now the trick here, we need to attach the camera to the Raspberry Pi, and on the Raspberry Pi the camera port is this one right here, right? So you're going to need a little utensil like this jeweler's screwdriver here, and you gently pop up the retaining clip for the camera. Now the silver part of the camera cable should face away from that retaining clip, and once you've put it in there nice and all the way down, you just press it back into place. And you gotta make, if you press one side, the other side likes to pop up, so you kind of have to press them simultaneously there at the end. All right, now we're good to go. So we will just snug this down on top of the unit here, and again, everything snaps into place, so do it gingerly and securely and evenly on all four corners. right. And once it's mostly on there, it doesn't need to be all the way on there. Now we can attach the two sides here. And you just got to match up the pegs with the slots that they fit in and snap down. And again, everything should snap really nice and tight. This is designed for the tolerances on the MakerBot replicators that I've got here. So you may need to adjust the tolerances if you've got a more precise 3D printer than I have. Okay, so that is the base of our unit. It's looking pretty good. Not everything will, I mean, it should be pretty tight, but I mean, you might see a little bit of a gap in some of those places like there where it doesn't want to snap all the way down. If it makes you crazy, you can use some super glue, but then, you know, it becomes difficult to disassemble. Okay, so let's finish off our unit here. We got a couple more parts to bake in. We'll set that right there for the moment. Now, we're going to need to assemble our sensors, and we've got sort of a detached sensor array that will mount to the wall with a little mount holes there. So let's get started with our temperature and humidity sensors. We're also going to need our light sensor here. And finally, we're going to need our motion sensor here. So, all right, let's start with the temperature and humidity. And again, these just slide in just like the camera did. And you slide it all the way in. And make sure it's in there nice and secure. And do that again with, they'll only fit, I mean, it looks like the light and the motion are the same size, but they're not. The light will only fit on the left and the motion will only fit on the right. Yep, and you got to put it in the correct way. There you go. Snap it all the way in there. So you should have about 1 millimeter of overhang on all three edges. And you can see it's a little bit too tight, so it actually spreads out. But that's okay because the lid's going to hold it in place, and that's going to hold our sensors in place nice and tight as well, so that they don't slide out. All right. So again, just pop that right on top and press all of the tabs in evenly and securely. Okay. Once you stop hearing pops, you're probably done. Okay. Now, another improvement in this generation, the temperature humidity sensor gets a nice little shield on top of it. I just felt it looked too exposed the other way. Now, don't just press this down with your fingers because you'll just snap those right off. Use a utensil and press each tab in individually like that. And again, nice and secure, snug. It'll keep your sensors safe and mount them on the wall. And now we'll just need to attach the sensors with these cables. Last couple things here, we're going to need our USB drive, and I'm going to plug that in here. All right, and we're going to need our USB cable, and that's going to go here from our Raspberry Pi into our Fidget's 888 board. There you go. Nice. All right, so let's see, what else do we need? We need our mount. Now, another thing we've changed about our mount here, since this is a considerably smaller form factor than the version 2, or than the version 1, we've got a shorter arm. You can use either a straight pivot like this one here, right, and then it'll only turn left and right, or if you need the tilt, the option for tilt, this goes in here like so. All snaps together real nice, right? And then you can adjust that as well. And this is what you need your little fisheye hook for. That just goes in as a tightening pin, and it screws into that little hole. It'll take a little doing to get it in there actually, but once it takes, you got to make sure you adjust it to the angle that you want. You're probably going to already have it attached here to your unit. I'm not going to do that because they don't like to come out once they go in. It's a pretty tight fit, and if you force it, you can break them. And if you do successfully get it out, then it'll be a lot looser. And so, in any case, this seems to be working pretty well. Love to get your feedback in the comments on the mount. And then, of course, the mounting bracket that it slips into just screws to the wall with those little holes, and then the whole assembly slides together like that. Okay, and then the final thing, we've got here our SD card with the software in it, and you end up with a bunch of stuff that you end up having to throw away here, but I guess that's the world we live in. So, and again, the SD card just goes right into the Raspberry Pi, like so. Slide it in, and you're pretty much good to go. We're going to power this up, and I'll show you in another video what configuring this looks like. Before I forget, we're going to want to hook up our cables, and this is very important, the order in which you do so. You have to remember that, because when you're setting up your device in the software, you're going to have to remember those numbers. And bear in mind that these analog sensor ports are numbered from 0 to 7, and since it's upside down, they're going from right to left. Temperature 0, humidity 1, light 2, motion 3. And there you have it, the Grobot version 2, complete with mounting bracket.